My brother charged $96,000 to attend his wedding. Now he's broke, single, and begging for help, and then my phone buzzed, and I barely glanced at the screen before swiping open the notification. It was an email from my brother Nathan, which was already strange because he almost never emailed anyone unless it involved money. I was expecting something about a new business venture or some over-the-top investment he wanted me to support. Instead, the subject line nearly knocked the air out of my lungs. Exclusive invitation to the wedding of Nathan and Vanessa, the event of the century. My stomach sank. I hadn't even opened it yet, and I already knew this was going to be a disaster. Nathan had always been obsessed with status, luxury, and proving he was superior to the rest of us. There was no way he'd have a normal, intimate wedding like a regular person. No, this had to be an extravagant spectacle that would put royalty to shame. Against my better judgment, I tapped on the message, and immediately, a sleek, gold-trimmed invitation loaded onto the screen. Dear Jessica, we are delighted to invite you to a once-in-a-lifetime experience as we celebrate our love in the stunning paradise of Monaco. Monaco. Of course, it had to be Monaco. My brother never did anything small. I kept reading. To create an unforgettable event, we have designed an exclusive guest package, ensuring an unparalleled luxury experience. For just $96,000 per person, you will receive a 3-night stay at the most prestigious resort in Monaco, a private yacht celebration with elite entertainment, a Michelin-starred dining experience at the reception, access to exclusive surprises throughout the event. Due to the high-profile nature of our guest list, all attendees must sign a non-disclosure agreement before confirming their attendance. Please RSVP by the end of the month to secure your spot at this truly historic occasion. With love, Nathan and Vanessa. I stared at my phone, my brain refusing to process what I had just read. $96,000. Just to attend my brother's wedding. And that didn't even include the flights. He was seriously expecting people to shell out the price of a luxury car just to watch him and Vanessa say, "I do," in a country none of us even lived in. I blinked, reread the email 3 times, and then did what any rational person would do. I called my sister Nicole. The second she picked up, I didn't even bother with pleasantries. "Did you see the email?" I asked, my voice already laced with frustration. Nicole let out an exasperated groan before I even finished my sentence. "Oh my God, yes. I thought it was a joke at first. $96,000, Jess. Is he out of his damn mind?" I let out a sharp laugh, rubbing my temple as I paced around my apartment. I mean, at this point, should we even be surprised? This is classic Nathan. Everything in his life has to be over the top, ridiculously expensive, and completely unnecessary. Nicole scoffed. "I could go on a year-long vacation for that price. And why the hell do we need an NDA? What is he planning to do at this wedding that needs to be legally protected?" That's what I'm saying. Who even needs a secret wedding? It's not like he's a celebrity. He's just Nathan. There was a brief pause before Nicole spoke again, her voice lower now. "Mom's trying to convince Dad to go." I groaned so loudly I startled my cat. Of course she is. She probably thinks this is some once-in-a-lifetime event we'll regret missing. "Exactly," Nicole muttered. "Dad's not having it, though. He said he wouldn't spend that kind of money to meet the Pope, let alone to watch Nathan marry a woman he barely likes." I snorted. That sounded exactly like our father. Practical to a fault, completely unimpressed by wealth, and absolutely unwilling to tolerate stupidity. If there was one person in the family who wouldn't cave to Nathan's manipulative nonsense, it was him. A sharp beep interrupted my thoughts, and I pulled my phone away to check the screen. Another incoming call, this time from Mom. I let out a slow breath, already dreading the conversation. "Hold on, Mom's calling," I told Nicole. "I'll call you back after she gives me her inevitable guilt trip." "Good luck," Nicole said, a smirk evident in her voice. "She's gonna hit you with the family means everything speech." I sighed, bracing myself as I switched to Mom's call. "Hey, Mom. Let me guess, you want to talk about the wedding?" She hesitated for half a second before launching into it. "Well, yes, sweetheart. I know it's a lot of money, but this is your brother's big day. He really wants you there. and he wants me to go bankrupt for it. I shot back, my frustration bubbling over. Mom, this is insane. Who charges their own family 6 figures just to attend their wedding? I know it's expensive, she admitted, her tone softening, but it's not just a wedding. It's an experience. Nathan and Vanessa want to make it something truly extraordinary for everyone. I let out a bitter laugh. Extraordinary? Mom, I could have an extraordinary time at home for free, and I don't have to sign a damn NDA to do it. She sighed, and I could practically hear the tension in her voice. It's just to protect their privacy, sweetheart. You know how Vanessa is. She doesn't want anything leaking to social media. I rubbed my temple again, already feeling a headache forming. Mom, I don't even use social media. Well, she hesitated. I just think you should consider it. Your father and I are still discussing it, but it would mean a lot to Nathan if we all went. I gritted my teeth, forcing myself to stay calm. I'll think about it. That was a lie. There was no way in hell I was spending that kind of money on a wedding. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of messages in the family group chat. I already knew it wasn't going to be good before I even opened it. The first thing I saw was a message from my cousin Jordan. Am I the only one who thinks this wedding is a straight-up scam? That set off an absolute firestorm. Aunt Lisa, we should be grateful for this opportunity. It's a privilege to be invited. Uncle Greg, privilege? This is a shakedown. I wouldn't pay 96 grand to watch Jesus rise from the dead, let alone Nathan getting married. Grandma, bless her heart, why do I need to sign an NDA? Is there going to be nudity? By noon, people were already dropping out. My sister Nicole jumped in with, we could all go on a European vacation together for less than this. Then Nathan himself chimed in. If you really cared about me, you'd find a way to be there. It's not just about the money. It's about showing your love and support. Oh, here we go, the guilt trip. I stared at the message from Nathan, my jaw tightening as I read his pathetic attempt at emotional manipulation. He wasn't even pretending to understand why people were upset. He was just doubling down, making it sound like we were heartless for not wanting to blow a fortune on his wedding. The worst part? I could already feel Mom caving. She hated conflict, and Nathan knew exactly how to play her. Nicole, however, had no patience for his nonsense. Her reply popped up almost immediately, sharp and brutal in only a few words. Nathan, if you think spending $96,000 on a wedding is proof of love, then you're insane. I almost laughed at how fast he responded. This isn't just a wedding. This is my wedding. If you can't support me, just say so and stop making excuses. Oh, so now we were the bad guys. Like it wasn't his ridiculous demands that were driving people away. I took a deep breath before typing my own message. Nathan, it's not about wanting to support you. It's about the fact that this entire thing is unrealistic and borderline extortion. I expected him to argue back, but instead, the chat fell into a tense silence. I could practically hear the collective exhaustion of our extended family as they waited to see what would happen next. Then, hours later, something even more ridiculous happened. Aunt Lisa, who had been the loudest about defending Nathan, sent a message saying she and Uncle John wouldn't be attending after all. Their excuse? Unexpected financial priorities, which was just code for we refused to waste our savings on this nonsense. That was the moment the dam truly broke. One by one, relatives started backing out. Cousins, uncles, family friends, people who had originally tried to stay neutral were now openly saying there was no way they could justify spending that kind of money. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash, except the driver refused to hit the brakes. Nathan reappeared in the chat, furious and completely unhinged. You're all showing your true colors right now. I see exactly who I can and can't count on. Aunt Brenda, who was usually the peacemaker in our family, tried to calm him down. Sweetheart, we love you. But you have to understand, this isn't realistic for most of us. Nathan, apparently, had lost all ability to be reasonable. No, what's unrealistic is expecting me to settle for less just because you can't keep up. And there it was, the truth behind all of this. Nathan didn't just want an expensive wedding. He wanted a status wedding. He wanted something that would prove he was better, wealthier, more important than the rest of us. Nicole wasted no time calling him out. Wow, so it's not about family. It's about flexing how much money you think you have. Nathan ignored her and left the group chat. Mom called me barely 10 minutes later, her voice tight with worry. Honey, I think Nathan's really upset. He feels like everyone is abandoning him. I pinched the bridge of my nose, trying to hold back my frustration. Mom, he's not upset. He's furious that we're not letting him treat us like his personal bank account. She sighed heavily, like she knew I was right, but didn't want to admit it. I just don't want him to resent us. I let out a humorless laugh. Mom, he already resents us. He resents anyone who doesn't do exactly what he wants. Another long pause. Then, finally, the question I had been dreading. Do you think I should just go? My stomach twisted. Mom, no. Please do not take out a loan or dip into your savings just to make Nathan feel better. She didn't answer right away, which only made me more anxious. Honey, you know how he is. If I don't go, he'll never let me forget it. I squeezed my eyes shut. And if you do go, you're just teaching him that he can manipulate you into anything. That finally got to her. I could hear the hesitation in her voice when she spoke again. Your father thinks this whole thing is ridiculous. He won't even discuss it with me anymore. Because he's right. I know, she admitted. I just don't want to be the bad guy. I softened a little because I knew she wasn't trying to take Nathan's side. She was just trying to keep the family from falling apart. Mom, listen to me. He is the bad guy in this situation. You're not abandoning him by refusing to spend a fortune on his wedding. He's the one trying to hold our love hostage with a price tag. She didn't argue, which was a good sign. I'll talk to your father again, she said finally. But I think you're right. This whole thing has gotten out of control. I breathed a sigh of relief. At least for now, she wasn't making any rash decisions. But Nathan? He was far from done making this a nightmare. The next morning, Nicole sent me a screenshot of a private message she had received from Vanessa. The text was long, dramatic, and dripping with fake sympathy. Nicole, I just wanted to reach out personally because I'm heartbroken over everything that's happening. Nathan is devastated. He just wanted to create something magical for everyone. And instead, he's being treated like a villain. I don't understand why people can't just be happy for us. Nicole's reply was brutal and to the point. Vanessa, you're asking people to spend 6 figures on your wedding. That's not magical. That's financially abusive. Vanessa responded almost instantly. Wow, I didn't realize you were such a bitter person. It must be exhausting living with so much resentment. Nicole didn't even bother answering after that. I was still processing that nonsense when I got a message from Nathan. But unlike Vanessa's passive-aggressive attempt at guilt-tripping, Nathan had gone full attack mode. You and Nicole have been turning everyone against me. You're ruining the most important day of my life because you can't stand to see me happy. I stared at my screen in disbelief. Was he serious? I typed back before I could stop myself. Nathan, you're ruining your own wedding by treating your family like disposable ATMs. If this is how you handle happiness, maybe you should rethink marriage. He didn't respond. Instead, an hour later, Nicole sent another update. Holy shit. The wedding planners just backed out. I blinked at the screen. Wait. What? Apparently, Vanessa and Nathan were making impossible demands and hadn't fully paid their deposit. So the planners just walked. I sat back, stunned. The perfect, luxurious dream wedding? It was already starting to crumble. I woke up to a dozen missed calls and a flood of texts from Nicole, which was never a good sign. My stomach twisted as I unlocked my phone, bracing myself for whatever new disaster had unfolded overnight. Jess, you are not going to believe what just happened. I swear to God, this wedding is collapsing in real time. I scrolled down, my eyes widening at the sheer volume of messages she had sent. The venue hasn't been fully paid for either. They were expecting the next installment last week, and Nathan and Vanessa still haven't sent it. The catering company pulled out. They apparently got tired of waiting for their deposit, so they canceled the contract and booked another event. The yacht company dropped them too. Vanessa tried to strong-arm them into extending the rental hours for free, and they straight up refused. I reread each message slowly, barely able to believe how fast things were falling apart. Just days ago, Nathan was acting like his wedding was an untouchable masterpiece, a grand spectacle that would be talked about for generations. Now, It was unraveling before it even started. Before I could respond, Nicole sent another text. Oh, and Vanessa just lost her mind in the wedding group chat. She sent, like, a novel's worth of messages blaming us for everything. I groaned, already exhausted before even reading what Vanessa had written. I scrolled up, and sure enough, she had completely lost it. I cannot believe how selfish and cruel some of you are. We put our hearts into creating something incredible, and instead of supporting us, you sabotaged it. Because of all the negative energy surrounding this wedding, our vendors are backing out. Do you see what you've done? Do you realize how much you've ruined for us? I blinked at the screen, my jaw tightening as I processed the sheer audacity of what she was saying. She was blaming us for the fact that they couldn't pay their own bills? Did she honestly believe that their vendors were pulling out because of some imaginary wave of negativity rather than the literal unpaid invoices? I texted Nicole back immediately. Has anyone responded to this unhinged nonsense? Her reply came instantly. Uncle Greg just told her that weddings don't run on vibes, they run on money, and she removed him from the chat. I let out a sharp laugh, shaking my head at how completely detached from reality Vanessa was. Instead of acknowledging that she and Nathan had grossly miscalculated every aspect of this nightmare, she was spiraling and lashing out at anyone who dared to question her. Then, before I could even think about how to respond, my phone started ringing. It was Nathan. I stared at the screen for a long moment, debating whether I even wanted to deal with him right now. But deep down, I knew exactly why he was calling. He was desperate, and for the first time, he needed me. I exhaled slowly before answering. What do you want, Nathan? His voice was tight, clipped, and seething with barely contained frustration. You need to fix this. I almost laughed at the sheer ridiculousness of what he had just said. I need to fix this? Nathan, this isn't my mess. It's yours. You and Nicole have been spreading negativity since the moment we announced this wedding. He snapped, his anger barely restrained. People backed out because of you. Now the vendors are leaving, and Vanessa is. He cut himself off, his voice strained. She's distraught over this. You have no idea what this is doing to her. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to stay calm. Nathan, vendors don't leave because of bad energy. They leave because they haven't been paid. How exactly is that my fault? You don't understand how hard we've worked to make this happen, he said, his voice sharp with frustration. Do you think Vanessa wanted to resort to crowdfunding for this? Do you think she enjoys seeing people turn against us? I froze. Wait, what the hell do you mean by crowdfunding? There was a pause, just long enough for me to realize he had said something he hadn't meant to say. Then, begrudgingly, he admitted, Vanessa set up a donation page last night. We've had to ask certain friends and followers to help contribute, since so many people have backed out. I blinked, struggling to comprehend what I was hearing. Vanessa, who had spent months acting like this wedding was some ultra-exclusive, invite-only, once-in-a-lifetime luxury experience, was now begging strangers for money because their entire plan had fallen apart? I couldn't hold back my laugh. Are you serious? You're actually crowdfunding your wedding now? Nathan, that's embarrassing. His voice turned cold in an instant. You're unbelievable. This is why I didn't want to call you. You don't care about family. You don't care about me, and you never wanted me to be happy. I shook my head, my grip tightening around my phone. You know what, Nathan? You're right. I don't care about this ridiculous wedding. But don't you dare try to paint yourself as the victim here. You did this to yourself. Silence. Then, in a voice so quiet it was almost chilling, he said, If you're not with me, you're against me. I let out a slow breath, suddenly exhausted beyond belief. That's the dumbest thing you've ever said. And then I hung up. For a long time, I just sat there, staring at my phone, waiting for some wave of emotion to hit me. But it never did. I wasn't sad, I wasn't guilty, and I sure as hell wasn't second-guessing myself. If Nathan wanted to destroy his life over a wedding, that was his problem. A few minutes later, Nicole texted me again. Check Instagram. Vanessa's having a full-blown meltdown in real time. I opened the app, already dreading what I was about to see. And there she was, live streaming from what looked like a luxury hotel suite. Her face streaked with dramatic, carefully applied tears. I just feel so betrayed, she sobbed. pausing for effect. People I trusted, people who I thought loved us, have abandoned us in our time of need. I scrolled down to the comments, barely able to contain my amusement. Girl, weren't you charging people $96,000 to attend? LMAO. Maybe. I don't know. Pay your vendors instead of blaming your family. Didn't you literally call people broke losers last week? Why are you surprised they left? I glanced back at Nicole's message and typed out my response. This wedding is officially dead. I woke up the next morning to a dozen notifications, and at this point, I wasn't even surprised. This wedding had turned into a full-scale disaster, and every time I thought it couldn't get worse, somehow it did. Nicole had already sent me a voice memo, probably too overwhelmed by the chaos to bother typing it all out. I hit play, expecting to hear her usual mix of outrage and amusement, but the second she started talking, I knew this was different. Jess, you're not going to believe this. The hotel officially canceled the contract. The wedding doesn't even have a venue anymore. Apparently, Vanessa and Nathan were dodging payments and ignoring deadlines, and the hotel finally pulled the plug. They sent out a formal statement and everything. Oh, and the best part? Vanessa is blaming us. She just went on another Instagram rant about how toxic family members sabotaged her dream wedding and how she's praying for the strength to overcome this betrayal. Jess, I swear to God, I am actually crying from laughter right now. I let my phone fall onto my bed, staring at the ceiling in disbelief. This wasn't just a small inconvenience for Nathan and Vanessa anymore. This was full-blown ruin. No venue, no caterers, no yacht, and now, thanks to Vanessa's dramatic livestream meltdown, most of their social media followers were turning on them too. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through the comments under her latest post, already knowing I was about to find gold. So your elite, exclusive wedding was actually running on IOUs? This is embarrassing, bestie. Girl, you called your own family cheap peasants last week. Why are you crying that they're not paying for you now? Manifestation isn't a financial strategy, Vanessa. Maybe try a budget next time. I snorted, barely able to contain my laughter as I kept reading. The internet was ruthless, and Vanessa was quickly realizing that throwing a tantrum wasn't going to win her any sympathy. I was just about to send a few of the best comments to Nicole when my phone started ringing again. My stomach twisted when I saw Nathan's name on the screen. I debated ignoring him, but something told me that this conversation was going to be important. I took a deep breath, braced myself for whatever new insanity he was about to throw at me, and finally answered. His voice was eerily calm, which immediately set me on edge. I'm going to fix this. I frowned, already feeling a headache forming. Fix what, Nathan? Your wedding doesn't even exist anymore. He exhaled sharply, like he was barely holding himself together. We found a backup venue. It's not in Monaco, but it's still exclusive, and we can make this work. I just need you to come. I almost dropped my phone. Wait, you actually think people are still coming to this disaster? Yes, he said quickly, his voice sharpening. I can cover your costs now. You don't have to pay for anything. Just get on the plane. I blinked, stunned by what I was hearing. After all the guilt trips, after calling me selfish, after insisting that real family would find a way, now he was begging? Nathan, I said carefully, if you can suddenly afford to cover people's costs, then why the hell were you charging $96,000 per guest in the first place? Silence. Then, in a voice so low I almost didn't hear him, he muttered, because we needed people to pay. I sat up straighter, my mind racing. Wait, what do you mean you needed people to pay? Another pause, this one long enough that I could practically hear his pride crumbling on the other end of the line. We didn't have the money up front, he admitted finally, his voice barely above a whisper. We were counting on the guest payments to cover everything. I felt my stomach drop. So this whole wedding was a scam? You weren't just asking people to pay for an experience. You were trying to finance the wedding with their money. He inhaled sharply. It wasn't a scam. It was an investment into something extraordinary. I couldn't even find the words to respond at first. This wasn't just selfishness. This was straight-up fraud. He and Vanessa had planned an entire wedding without the funds to actually pay for it. And instead of admitting that they were in over their heads, they had tried to charge their own family to cover the costs. I let out a slow breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Nathan, do you even hear yourself? You weren't hosting a wedding. You were running a pyramid scheme with cake. He exhaled sharply, his frustration boiling over. It doesn't matter anymore, okay? What matters is that we have a new venue. We just need people to show up. I almost laughed at the sheer delusion of it all. Nathan, nobody is coming. You burned every bridge, you guilt-tripped everyone. And now that the entire thing has crashed and burned, you suddenly care about family again. His voice cracked slightly, a mix of anger and desperation. Jess, please. If we don't have a proper guest count, the new venue might pull out too. I shook my head, disbelief washing over me. So you don't care if I'm there. You just need a warm body to fill a seat. Another long pause. Then, quietly, just say you'll come. I closed my eyes, already knowing my answer. Nathan, I don't owe you anything. I hope you and Vanessa figure your lives out, but I'm not going to be part of this disaster. Silence. Then, in the coldest voice I'd ever heard from him, he muttered, fine, but don't expect to be my sister anymore. I let out a dry laugh, completely unimpressed by his dramatics. Nathan, I wasn't expecting to be your sister anymore the second you tried charging me 6 figures for a wedding invite. And with that, I hung up. By the time I checked the family group chat again, the final nail had already been hammered into the coffin. Nicole had sent a final update, and I almost felt bad for how satisfying it was to read. Vanessa just went private on all her accounts. Her GoFundMe got flagged for fraud and removed. Oh, and Nathan? He's officially deleted every wedding post off his page. I think it's over. I exhaled slowly, letting the reality of it all settle in. After months of chaos, manipulation, and outright insanity, the wedding was finally dead. And honestly, I had never felt better. A week passed without a single word from Nathan, and honestly, it was the quietest, most peaceful 7 days I had experienced in months. No dramatic messages, no last-minute pleas, no passive-aggressive guilt trips disguised as heartfelt attempts to bring the family together. Just complete and total silence, like he had finally accepted that his entire plan had gone up in flames. I knew better than to think it would last forever, but for the moment, I was enjoying every second of it. Nicole and I had a standing tradition of grabbing drinks every Friday, and this week felt like it deserved a full-on celebration. We found a bar near my place, ordered the strongest cocktails on the menu, and sat back, still trying to wrap our heads around the fact that the biggest wedding disaster in family history had finally reached its spectacular and inevitable end. Nicole took a sip of her drink, shaking her head with a smirk. I still can't believe they actually tried to crowdfund the wedding. Like, was that really their backup plan? I let out a laugh, swirling the ice in my glass. Honestly, the funniest part is that they genuinely thought it would work. They spent months pretending they were these exclusive, high-society elites, and now they're literally begging strangers for money just to cover their debts. Nicole snorted. Yeah, well, turns out people don't want to donate to entitled narcissists who insult their own families and call them broke peasants. Who knew? We clinked our glasses together, both of us savoring the moment. This entire situation had been a disaster from the very beginning, but at least now, it was officially out of our hands. Or at least, that's what I thought, until my phone lit up with an incoming call from Mom. Nicole noticed immediately and raised an eyebrow. Oh no, what now? I sighed, already bracing myself for whatever fresh nonsense she was about to drop on me. I answered, keeping my voice neutral. Hey, Mom. What's up? She hesitated for a moment, which was never a good sign. Jessica, Nathan came over today. I blinked, caught off guard. Wait, came over? To your house? Yes, she said softly. He just showed up out of nowhere. He looked exhausted, sweetheart, like he hadn't slept in days. Nicole leaned in, trying to eavesdrop, while I rubbed my temple, already feeling the beginnings of a headache. And what exactly did he want? Mom let out a tired sigh, the kind that told me she had spent the entire day emotionally drained. He wanted to talk. He sat in the kitchen for over an hour, just staring at his hands. Your father didn't say a word to him, just sat in the living room, reading his newspaper, pretending he wasn't there. I could picture it perfectly. Dad, stiff and silent, refusing to acknowledge Nathan's presence, while Mom hovered nearby, caught between sympathy and frustration. I exhaled slowly. And what did he say? She hesitated again, then finally admitted. He said the wedding was officially off. Completely canceled. Vanessa's gone. Nicole's eyes widened, and she mouthed the words "no way" as I leaned back in my seat, processing the bombshell. Wait. Vanessa left him. Mom sighed. Apparently, she gave him an ultimatum. Either cut off the family completely and start fresh with her, or she was walking away. He didn't answer fast enough, so she packed her bags and left. I let out a low whistle, shaking my head in disbelief. Wow. So all that talk about true love and once-in-a-lifetime romance, and she bailed the second things got hard. Nicole snorted. I mean, she did leave with a guy named Brandon. I almost choked on my drink. Wait, what? Mom groaned. Nicole, stop it. That's just a rumor. Nicole shrugged, sipping her cocktail with a knowing smirk. Sure. A rumor that came straight from Vanessa's Instagram story, where she's been posting cryptic captions about new beginnings, and when one door closes, another opens. I burst out laughing, covering my face with my hands. You're telling me she rebounded before the wedding was even cold? Jesus, this just keeps getting better. Mom sighed again, but I could hear the exhaustion in her voice more than the frustration. Jessica, I know he's made terrible choices, and I know he hurt a lot of people. But he's miserable. He sat at our kitchen table, looking like a ghost, saying he has nothing left. I swallowed, suddenly feeling something complicated twist in my chest. As much as I wanted to be completely indifferent, hearing that Nathan had lost everything still left me with a strange, hollow feeling. Nicole, however, had no such hesitation. Mom, I love you, but this is not our problem. Nathan burned every bridge, and now he has to deal with the consequences. Mom's voice softened. I know, and I told him that, but he's still my son. I sighed, closing my eyes for a moment. Did he say anything about me? Or Nicole? She hesitated again, and I already knew the answer before she even said it. No, not directly, but he did ask if you were still mad at him. I let out a dry laugh, shaking my head. Mad? I was never mad. I was just done. Nicole nodded firmly. Exactly. And we still are. Mom didn't argue, which told me that, deep down, she knew we were right. I just wanted to tell you. I won't push you to talk to him, but I thought you should know. I appreciated that, at least. Mom had spent so much time trying to keep the peace, but even she had finally accepted that Nathan had made his own bed. Now, he had to lie in it, alone. When I hung up, Nicole studied me for a long moment before finally asking, Are you okay? I thought about it for a second, then nodded. Yeah, actually, for the first time in months, I think I really am. The wedding was dead. Vanessa had vanished into the arms of a new victim, and Nathan was left to deal with the wreckage of his own making. There was no happy ending, no miraculous reconciliation, no grand moment of redemption, just the cold, hard truth that actions have consequences. And honestly, that was the best possible outcome.